Alright, hey guys, welcome to my first podcast episode. So I don't have like the fancy headset and microphone and all that shit yet. Maybe one of these days I will, but as of right now, it's just gonna be me chilling, talking, and chatting it up. I've been wanting to do a podcast for like a minute, and obviously I have my YouTube channel, which I'm gonna be uploading this onto, but I haven't like posted on it for like a year, I think. So now I'm going to be turning it into my podcast. My podcast is going to be called Your Older Sister Eileen, because I'm an older sister, you know, I give advice, I do my thing. I studied psychology. I have my bachelor's degree in psychology, actually. And I was learning so much in school. I was learning a lot about myself, other people, their behavior, how they think, like the psychology of like all sorts of different topics. And psychology is literally in everything. It's in everything. And it's so fascinating. It really is. And with that said, I've been wanting to do videos for like a minute, you know? I've been wanting to just sit down, teach people what I've been learning, and just kind of tell you guys like, yo, I learned this really cool fact in class. Like, let me tell you about it, you know what I mean? Honestly, going to school for psychology just changed the trajectory of my life completely. And it was crazy because obviously I was a crazy college kid at the time. I mean, I know I only graduated like a couple months ago, but I was like a crazy college kid. I just party hella, and you know, sometimes, you know, you have the toxic relationships, you got, you know, the problems with the fam, like you got it all, you know, we're all human beings, we all get it, you're just going through some shit. And it would be so crazy because I'd be going through something and I'd go to class and we'd learn about that shit, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, that's why I do that? Now that, you know, I've graduated, like I've kind of settled down a little bit, I've gotten to know myself more and things like that. All that information is really useful because when I think of reasons like whether I should do something or not, I think about the psychology behind it. And I think about how something maybe affected me like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, like all of that, you know? So yeah. With that said, this is going to be my first ever podcast episode. So with this podcast, I'm planning to talk about tons of different topics. Just talk about, you know, life experiences. Just be your older sister, you know, and just let you guys know, like, yo, I've been there, I've done that. If I can educate you and teach you what I've learned that has truly changed my life for the better, then perfect. Let's all do it. We're like a bunch of siblings, you know? If you guys have any questions, anything that you want me to address in particular, I would love to do that. I would love if you guys commented some advice questions, or maybe like occasionally I'll set up like an anonymous thing if you guys want, and it'll just be perfect. This episode, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about my move. So I moved across the country from a small town in Colorado, which I'm repping Colorado, you know, I stay loyal, but from Colorado to New York City, bitch, to the Big Apple, the Empire State, I moved. Yeah. It was crazy, like, to even think about. Like, sometimes I'm like here and I just look around and I'm like, holy shit, this is my life now. Like, this is real life. Things just change so quickly, and before you know it, you're across the country in a city you've never even visited before. When thinking about my move, I think that was probably like the craziest thing, is the fact that I had never even been to New York City before. I had never been to New York City. I didn't know if I was gonna love it, I didn't know if I was gonna hate it, but I knew that my soul was set here, on coming here, on living here, on starting life here. And yeah, this is where I ended up. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about like the backstory as to why I decided to do the move in the first place, and hopefully by the end of this episode you'll catch something in there that makes you just excited to do some crazy shit with your life too, because we have only this life that we're living now. We only live it once, so might as well live it to the fucking fullest. Like, come on, add shit to your plot, add stuff to your life movie. Like, what are you gonna say, that your whole life you just did the same shit every day, the same boring routine, the same habits, the same in the same place, knowing the same people? Like, come on, get out of your bubble, burst your bubble, get out there, go see the world. But anyways, so I actually wanted to move, not here to New York City, but just in general. When I graduated high school and I started applying to colleges, I really felt like that was the perfect time for me to get out there, branch out, like wanting to do all that. However, at the time, I was in a pretty serious relationship, and there was just a lot going on with that, and I just decided at the time that it'd probably just be best for me to just stay in my hometown. I know, boo, lame, but honestly, looking back, I don't think I would have been ready for this move at that time. So I think everything worked out the way it was meant to. But yeah, so I really wanted to move at that point. I didn't. I was in a serious relationship, whatever. And then I ended up moving up to a city, or kind of like a bigger town, about like an hour from where my hometown is. And I was going to school there, and I moved up there, which was really cool. Like, I really loved getting out of my hometown, you know, and even though it was like a town that was only a little bit bigger, I was still happy that I got out of there, you know, that I got out of my hometown and I got to go see something different. And I loved it. I honestly did. But you know, I'm going to school, whatever. At some point, I ended up moving back to my hometown, and I ended up having to drive like an hour every day. And I just remember the feeling that I got every time that I would get to that city. And I was like, oh, I love this. Like, this just feels like home. Fast forward, you know, it's my senior year. I'm thinking, all right, I'm gonna graduate this year. Like, I need to start thinking what I'm gonna do. You know, I was gonna graduate with my bachelor's degree in psychology. And I was like, all right, like, now it's game time. With psychology, unfortunately, you can't just do your bachelor's degree and be a therapist. You have to actually like get your PhD to be a psychologist, or get your master's and be in a program that like you can get licensed through that program at your master's level. And I had to start thinking about that. So at this point, I was like, okay, you know, like, I'm gonna use this time as my opportunity to get out of here, move out of the state. Like, I wasn't even trying to stay in Colorado. Like, I was like, I'm going somewhere else. And I had a couple choices, you know, like my dad was like, you can move to Salt Lake with me. And I was considering it for a minute, but then I just thought about it. I just did not want to live with my parents anymore. And I love my parents, but I was like, no, dude, like, it's time for me to get out, like, go see the world, you know, especially because nothing's holding me back at this point. I was in a serious relationship. I just graduated college. Like, I have my degree. Like, I'm like, let's fucking get it. Like, let's go see what's out there. Let's go. And I thought, it's now or never. I got to do a big move. And I've always wanted to live in New York. I've always been obsessed with the idea of just New York in general. And yeah, there was no way I was going to any other state besides New York, which is kind of crazy to say because I had never even been to New York at that point. So I actually was getting a lot of signs like on TikTok, you know, when I had this like idea in my head, which I definitely like, you know, I believe in signs from the universe telling you you're on the right path. I just kept getting signs. Like, I just kept getting like random TikToks about New York, or like, I literally, sometimes I would see TikToks that would straight up say, this is your sign to move to New York, or like, this is your sign to move. Or I would just hear stuff about like, you know, you only live once. I just took that as a sign, and I was like, okay, like, I gotta move there. Like, yeah, I could move to Salt Lake, or I could move to Denver, you know, which is obviously like the city in my state, or I could just do a fucking big ass move and just say fuck it. Like, I could do that too, which is what I chose, because I just didn't know if I would be completely like satisfied if I wouldn't have done this. I feel like this had a lot to do with me just proving to myself that I can do something like this, and being like, fuck it, let's do it. Like, you believe in yourself, like, you're trusting your intuition. And I really was trusting my intuition, because even though it was like obviously scary, like, I've never been here before prior to moving here, just a lot of the situations itself was scary, I didn't feel scared. Like, I felt like almost at peace with my decision, and I was very confident in my choice. And I knew so because actually at the beginning, I didn't want to tell anyone. Like, at my job, everything like that, I didn't want to tell anyone, because I didn't want outside like opinion, because in my mind I was so like laser focused, and I was like, okay, like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna move up there, like, this is happening, this is my choice, like, as an adult, you know, I graduated college, like, I just feel like this is the next step in my life. And I was very comfortable and confident in my decision, so I didn't really want to tell anyone, so I could have like outside opinion and people being like, you know, just adding different narratives or ideas in my head that I necessarily like didn't really want, or yeah, I just didn't want it. I didn't want their opinion, to be honest. For example, like one of the biggest people I didn't want to tell about my move was my dad, and he took it horribly. Like, he was one of the last people I told. He was very upset, did not agree with my decision at all, which I kind of expected, but to the extent that he took it was like, yo. His commentary was definitely one of the ones that obviously kind of got to me a little bit. Like, yeah, I'd hear little comments in there like, you're gonna sleep in a room that's the size of a closet, like your apartment's gonna be like the size of like this room, like just stupid shit like that, you know what I mean? And I just try not to take it to heart, you know. Obviously, like, sometimes some comments would like kind of annoy me, and I'd be like, dude, like, why do you have to say that shit, you know? But I wasn't taking anything personally. Like, I just kept trying to tell myself, like, they wouldn't do this, you know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't move, they have their own opinions on what could happen. Like, I appreciate the concern, of course, but at the end of the day, like, that's their perspective. It's not necessarily mine perspective, you know? I would hear shit like, the rats there are so huge, you're gonna see them everywhere, like they're swarming your feet, like getting all up in there. And I have not seen one rat since I've been here. I mean, knock on wood, like anything could happen, but I literally have not seen one fucking rat. These like fucking rats that everybody swears are like the size of like my head, and I haven't seen not one rat. Just saying. They said the subway would be really scary, or that there would just be like people all up in your biz. I've rode the subway quite a few times. I haven't had any issues, and I just kept that in mind when I was getting like opinions or commentary from other people. Is I would just be like, hey, that is their opinion, that is their viewpoint. Like, when they say things about like your opinion or your dream, like, that's their opinion, you know what I mean? And I was just really just validating myself and being like, I'm an adult, like I can make my own choices, like I believe in myself, I'm confident in my ability to be able to do this. And I really was just reaffirming to myself. So yeah, when you're going to make like a big decision, make sure that you're validating yourself and you're validating your own feelings, because people around you will try to like have opinions, and they'll try to get in your head and maybe, you know, project, like mainly just project onto you like their own insecurities, like, you know, their own fears, like, you know, which is obviously understandable because we really only see the world from our point of view. Everybody is the center of their universe in their own world, which is obviously the way it should be. Like, the fuck, who else are we gonna be living for? We're living for ourselves, you know? So I get it, but make sure that you're validating yourself, you know, like say your affirmations, like you're an adult, you can make small choices, you can take care of yourself, you can protect yourself, like saying, you know, I feel safe, I feel protected, like making sure that you're really in touch with yourself, and, you know, meditating, journaling, like all of that stuff. And that was a lot of stuff that I was doing, especially with like the heavy conversations, like the one that I have with my dad and stuff like that, that did kind of hit me a little bit. I made sure that I journaled and like meditated and did like extra, like a lot of like the self-care after having conversations with him or prior to having conversation with him. Or I would like, just so I could really like get out of my head and think like objectively, which honestly really freaking helped, dude, because I really think that if I wouldn't have like journaled or meditated or just really felt so confident in my decision and so stern and being like, this is gonna happen, like I have no fear, no regret, like no doubt that this is where my life is meant to go next, and this is the next step that I'm meant to take in my life. And when you just feel so confident in your decision like that, nobody can shake you, nobody can break you, nobody can shake you, nobody's opinions can make you doubt that. Or if you do have moments where you doubt it, retreat, journal, meditate, do all that, you know, like really get in touch with yourself, get in touch with your feelings, and just be like, okay, like how am I feeling? Why am I feeling like this? How can we fix it? Like, it's like you're in a relationship with yourself, you know what I mean? And you got to tell yourself like, yo, that conversation was a little heavy, like, okay, we just need to chill. Sometimes even the people closest to you aren't gonna be of support to you when you want to do something big and, you know, follow your dream, go out there, see a new world, see a new life, and just give yourself another chance, you know? And even though it can be hurtful for those people to not provide support for you or like make you feel like you're capable of doing what you want to do, you have to also think about the fact that you have to validate yourself. We're all human beings, and sometimes like we want people to validate our feelings. Why do we vent? Because we wanted people to validate our feelings. Like, yeah, you could just keep it to yourself and be like, damn, I'm so pissed about that. But it feels kind of nice when you go to someone else and you're like, yo, that fucking pissed me off. And they're like, yeah, yo, fuck that. And you're like, yeah, fuck that. Exactly. That's exactly how I felt. It's nice to have someone validate you. You're thinking, oh, you know, I want to go move to a new city. I'm so excited. And they're like, fuck yeah, you can do it. And you're like, yes, I can. But unfortunately, that was not really, that's not always going to happen. And sometimes the negative comments or like the fear-based comments are going to come from people whose opinion you really care about. For the most part, it was like all positivity. Everybody was like genuinely so happy for me, like really. So I was really happy and really blessed with that. So yeah. With that said, you got to think about that when you want to do big moves and, you know, you're over here worried about what people are going to say about you or shit like that. You have to remember that, first of all, nobody cares that much. Like, is that person living a life that I want to live? Like, are they doing something with their life that I would like to take advice from, that I would like to take opinion from? And if you think about it, a lot of these people aren't, or most people are not living the type of life you want to live. Mostly probably because everybody's on their own path. Everybody's living a different life. Everybody's on their own shit. Or even if somebody's living a life similar to yours, everybody views things differently. Everybody processes shit differently. And like nobody stays up all day thinking about how you posted a get ready with me on TikTok and you're embarrassed about it now. And you're like, shit, like I shouldn't have posted that. Like I got like 2 likes. I feel like this is a year where I'm just like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I really am. Like, I don't care what... My New Year's resolution for this year was to not care what people think. And so far, I'm doing pretty fucking good, to be honest. Do not care what people think. Do not care what people think. It's one thing for somebody to have a genuine concern and to voice that to you, of course. But at the end of the day, somebody who loves you and respects you will love you and respect you regardless of what the fuck you do. They're not going to try to shit on your dreams. They're not going to try to fucking bring you down. They're not going to try to make you feel like you're dumb. You guys want to go out there and you guys want to live your dream. You guys want to post your get ready with me's. You guys want to move to a city you've never fucking been to. First of all, just be safe, you know, and I know I'm obviously one to fucking say that. I made a lot of risky fucking moves, which I will probably talk about in future episodes. But at the end of the day, everything's working out so far. Follow your intuition. Literally the little voice in your head that's telling you like, this is right. This feels so right. Like no anxious feeling at all. You just feel at peace with that decision. That's the voice you should be following. And that's the voice that will take you to your higher self. Maybe that is your higher self talking to you. And they're like, yo, come on, do that. Do that fucking move because you don't even know what the fuck is coming your way if you do that shit. I saw this one quote that said, time is going to pass regardless of what you're doing. So do you want to do the same shit you were doing every other year or you want to do something different? Come on, it's for the plot. Like that's what I'm starting to think about. It's for the plot. Every time something crazy happens in my life, I'm like, it's for the plot. It's for the fucking plot. And I swear lately my life has been feeling like a fucking movie. It really has. It really fucking has. And let me tell you, that movie is great. Thank you guys for watching this podcast. I hope that you guys learned a thing or two. I know I was kind of all over the place. I don't really have a lot of organization for this podcast, but I'm really excited about it. And honestly, like I'm ready to start voicing my teachings and just start really putting myself out there, especially because in the past I have wanted to like sit down and, you know, talk about relationships or talk about shit that I know people out there want to learn about, want to know. I know because I was in that position. I still am in the position where I like to learn about shit. I like to learn about people and their experiences and the experiences that shaped them to be who they are today and what changed the trajectory of their lives. You could literally be going in one direction and then all of a sudden your life just fucking changes and you're going in a completely different direction. And it's insane. In the past, I was like nervous to put myself out there because I didn't want people judging me or I didn't want people to be like, what the fuck, like you were heartbroken about that, like that's ridiculous, you know? or like that happened to you or whatever the fuck, you know. But now I'm in a phase in my life where I'm like, I want people to learn about that shit, because I want people to know that there's another side. Like, you know, that fucking, the staircase you're climbing where you can't see the fucking top. Yeah, let me tell you, there's a top and there's a fucking view. There's a view. So while you're climbing that fucking staircase and you're thinking, fuck, am I ever gonna see the other side? Am I ever gonna fucking get to my destination? Or am I just always gonna be climbing this fucking steep ass staircase that isn't even fun to fucking climb, and it low-key sucks, which is, by the way, an analogy for your life. And, or like the actions you're fucking making. And then, you know, there's a top. You get to the top eventually. And that was definitely my own experiences. I'm gonna be talking about it on here. You know, for a while I was going down a path in which, you know, I was a party girl. I was drinking every fucking day, smoking a ton of weed, like being in fucking toxic relationships. Like, it was just like not really taking care of myself, like, at all. And now I'm in a place where, you know, I moved in a new city, I graduated college, like, I'm genuinely just working on myself, trying to just get in touch with myself, and shit is just so fucking different now. And hopefully I'll be able to at least get to one person out there who's struggling and they're like, damn, am I ever gonna fucking see that view? Am I ever gonna get to the top of the fucking staircase? Yeah, you will. You are. If there's 3 things you could take away from this video, is don't let people fucking tell you how to live your life. If they're not living a life that you want to live, get the fuck out of my life. Stop voicing your opinion, all right? I know what the fuck I'm doing. Second, say your fucking affirmations. Tell yourself who the fuck you are, because your mind, it's believing it. You tell your mind, fuck, I'm such a dumbass. Fuck, life sucks. You probably are a dumbass and your life probably does suck, respectfully. But if you're telling yourself, yo, like, I'm fucking doing good, like, I'm a badass bitch, like, look at me, you're gonna believe that shit too, and you're a badass bitch. Like, come on. And the third thing, don't be afraid to go after something you want. Don't be afraid to chase your dream. Don't be afraid of looking stupid, because you're holding yourself back. At the end of the day, nobody cares as much as you think. And that's one main thing about living in New York that I've noticed. Everybody's in their own lane. You guys don't even realize how refreshing it is to go from a small town where you would tell people your dreams. Yeah, I want to be a fashion designer, I want to be a singer, I want to be an actor, whatever. People are laughing in your fucking face, basically, like, the fuck, this motherfucker thinks he's gonna be like he's gonna win an Oscar or some shit. Here, everybody reaffirms to you, and everybody affirms to you that anything is possible. Any dream that you want to go after, anything is fucking possible if you believe in yourself and you work fucking hard to get it. So have that New Yorker attitude, have that energy, and go after what the fuck you want. Don't be fucking afraid. Don't use the excuse of you're afraid of the judgment or this or that, or you can't do this or that. You can fucking do anything. It's just a matter of how bad do you want it. How bad do you want it? We're all made equal under the same God. We are all made equal. We're all capable of the same shit. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I truly do appreciate it, and I hope I taught you guys a thing or two. Bye from your older sister.